All right, testing, 1, 2, 3. How do the levels look? I think you can hear way too much of my mouse moving. Try again. Yeah, I think this will be okay. Right on. So, welcome back. This will be a session where we talk about Amoxtli Vue and the updates I've been making to the computed properties lesson page of the website of the book of the site. So I think I can go through the contents, and then maybe if there's something interesting to show on the code here, I will do that. So right now I just remembered that the way I presented the other reactivity portions, where we add this 2/ addition that I put in the lesson. So yeah, I went ahead and modified a little bit the start of the lesson, I guess. So reactive, I think ref does the same. Yes, you can tell here. So let's go back to computed now. And yeah, I added that just to kind of give a quick first overview of what it does. And I think if you looked at it, you would very quickly pick up what needs to happen in order to use the computer and what that is used for. But even if you didn't, you can go through the rest of the lesson and see what else we have to say about that. So I actually took this portion, maybe the whole thing, from my original notes on Vue, and you can find that doesn't have any. This one doesn't have any. I don't know, restriction. Yeah, that's the proper word to say it. Let's go, and then we look for the computed properties over here and the building blocks. Here, I think I borrowed this first paragraph. So yeah, there's a different example here that I actually originally tried to implement in the new book, but I decided not to go with it in the end. Maybe we could, but I thought it would be a better example if I did it the other way. So here's how we explain that we are creating another reactive data piece, just like we do with ref or reactive, but this will be updated when their dependencies change. And yeah, just taking the first example, the one we saw with 2/, and then annotating it, right? So then we go through the how we enable cleaner templates through computed properties. And first we show an example where there's an input here, a string that will be transformed or modified by adding clap emojis at the beginning and in the middle of each word and at the end. So hi YouTube, right? So that's the idea. And we accomplish that by, well, using what we know about Vue already, that we can use JS expression templates within the JS expressions within the templates, within the mustaches, I don't know what. Yeah, we can use JS expressions here. So yeah, and then yeah, just annotating that code that it's live here. We could change that here. Thanks for watching. That will be the message when no string is provided, right? Hey, cool. Yeah, just annotating that code. I think this flow of giving the live code and then the annotated code is something I want to keep. I think that makes sense, but we'll see. Yeah, then explaining how we could just take the entire piece of code that we are using to transform the string and moving it up into the script tag, I guess, and using a computed value, a computed property, clapping message in this case, to then render it out here. So this still works the same, right? With computed. Same deal. We show the live coding experience here, and then we annotate it. I try to also hide stuff from here. I'm not sure I've shown that before. I think I did. But yeah, sometimes I might not need the entire code just sitting here and showing the entire app, or yeah, component, whatever it is. So I try to hide stuff from here, which is not basically important for the example to run. And sometimes I just leave the whole thing. And same thing happens with the annotations. That's why we have the collapsing portions of the code. I think I already explained this, but anyway. So we have both manual control for each one of them, and the whole, if I wanted to see the whole code again or at once, I would be able to do that this way, right? What else do we have here? We have oh yeah, the comparison with methods, because we already know that we can use methods to render stuff in our templates. So probably the nature or the natural thing to do would be to say, okay, but I can write a method to do that, and it's not, I don't really need to create the whole computed thing, right? And then we go through that. Yes, we implement it, and it still works, as we can tell here in the live example. But then there's a bit of a catch, which is the cache, right? Yeah, bad joke. So what we do is then present the idea that there's this concept of caching on the computed properties, where no matter how many times I try to use it, I will get the same kind of previous result, right? The cached value, and then that will mean that I don't have to run the getter over and over again, which is not the case for the methods. And I think I wrote this a few times, so I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I think I think we do the comparison here, and then we take a little piece of the official documentation, always trying to give the link back to where I took that from. But then, yeah, we show how that's different, right? So we're saying it helps in performance because if you unmounted and mounted the DOM that contains the stuff that you are rendering out, that will trigger the running of the method once and over and over. Where this one, whereas the clapping message, which is a computed property, will not be executed more than just once because it already has the cached value. Unless, so you can see the 5 is changing to higher and higher numbers because I am basically mounting the whole thing again, right? So unless I change the value, and then I show it, then you will see that the computer property run again, right? So yeah, I think this would be a good way to present like the differences and how a computed property will be better suited in this case against the method. And finally, the same idea here to just annotate the code and show you how it's built. Yeah, and I think I collapsed the parts that are not really necessary for understanding what's happening, but leaving or left the code that might help to understand and make more sense of what's happening here. So yeah, and my goal is also to um, to have the less kind of things that you need to read and more things that you can just see at a glance or understand in a very quick way other than trying to understand a paragraph, right? Because here I can tell you this executes the method every time the div is added to the DOM and when the message changes. So once you see it here on the template, my hope is that it will make more sense more quickly than if I try to explain it with words in a paragraph. That's the whole interest for me in this kind of interactive book thingy. So yeah, even showing you, okay, so if I didn't type anything and then just what I showed you a moment ago, where I hid and shown the contents of the preview over and over, like when I clicked add this, should probably move that up so it doesn't move. But yeah, if I did that, then on the console, I'm sorry for the scrolling. But if I did that and I looked at the console, then that's what I'm trying to exemplify here, right? The 5 is 5 times that this was printed, and so on. Yeah. So in what other way would the computed properties be helpful? Calculating derived values, right? So we can, and I think I play around with the word calculate and compute a few times in the text just to kind of drive the point, I guess. But yeah, so going back to the first example that we made that we presented, then you can see we are just we give manual input basically for the value to be updated, and when we do that, then the total is calculated based on whatever value we have on the tags here. So yeah, same thing. we present the important bits of the code and annotate it down below. We say what piece is what each piece is doing at the moment, and so that way we explain. You can do things like if you were using a spreadsheet and stuff, right? Then becomes interesting that you can probably want to assign a value to a computed, even though I personally don't think it's either a good idea or very helpful, because there's other ways to do these things. So yeah, I don't know. um, Let me write something in the chat real quick here. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to try and do things like this in the future, leaving comments and stuff. Anyway, yeah, I was saying sometimes your instinct, I guess, might tell you to update a computer, because if you can update a ref or a reactive variable that was created with one of those, you can probably think that the grand total in this case, for example, could be updated as well, right? And even though you can read it like this, you cannot update it. And so in this case, we're using again the 2/ integration and presenting this error, right? So yeah, and then I show you how to do that the right way, I guess. And in this case, we are just setting a new value to the purchase, to 300 and then to 500. And excuse me for a second. I think I'm gonna take a sip of water, and I'll be right back. All right, I am back. So I was saying we are now updating the value directly here, just setting the new value manually, and that should go through the set function here, which is part of the new way of using, I guess, the computed here, right? And yeah, I could probably hide. Yeah, let's just hide the whole template for this example. So I'm just gonna copy this to find the paragraph. And yeah, let's hide from line 26 till 42. That's not really needed for the example to be understood, I guess. so you don't really need to see what the template looks like or anything. You just need this part, I want to say. So yes, as usual, you can just refresh and go back to the original state. You can also clear the console and, you know, continue with that. So once we see the code running, then we explain it, right? So this is like the right way to do it. And there's a comment I want to point out here, and I use info for that, where I take you to the original, or sorry, to the official docs, where it says, yeah, there's writable computed, and there's the best practices. I guess it's not taking me there. So let me see. Leaving them alone. Oh yeah, I did not use the proper. So yeah, debugging live here with you. So what we want is this link instead, and no, not previews, sorry, I wanted best practices. Best practices. I bet it's just, yeah, that's okay. So now we have the proper link. Yes, okay. Best practices. And finally, the previous value. I did take some time trying to come up with something that made sense when presenting this part. But yeah, since that's something that is part of the official documentation and it's a new way to do things, I decided to add it as well. The idea here is to have a previous argument here, or parameter, for the computed getter that we are creating here, and you can read that and do something with it, right? So the previous value on a computed. There's other things that you can do, and I'm not certain that this will be the best idea to use it all the time, but I guess it's good to have it. And for some reason, the core team added it, so it might become more important, or more used rather, sometime in the future. But the idea is basically like a watcher that we haven't really documented here, but you have a previous value that you can act upon, right? So in this case, we are setting a threshold that shouldn't allow us to kind of record or keep track of the calculated value if it goes beyond that. So in this case, I'm at 17, and if I increase it again in a randomized way, then you will see that I keep the previous value as stated here, right? So if I keep increasing the temperature, this won't change at all. But then I can go back, and if I hit that decrease again, then I would go, yeah, change the calculated value once more. So maybe only if the new value was 2, I will probably get the 20, but if not, I will be stuck at 18. Yeah, new value was 10, so yeah, hopefully that's not too confusing. But you can see we're printing out the previous value as well. So yeah, that's how that works. Then just documented that again. And yeah, I think the next thing to do would probably be to either add watchers here, or maybe, yeah, I think that would make sense if we added watchers but I'm not sure it should be to the reactivity or somewhere else. I'll have to think about that. Maybe I should have come up with like a plan of how I wanted to write the book first, but I'll just keep going, I guess. I just noticed. Oh no, there we go. Yeah, I thought I only have two backticks here, but I think that wouldn't. Yeah, yeah, it would just be auto-fixed, I suppose. Anyway, so that's one of the things that I wanted to share that I kind of completed already. But yeah, there's also now the fact that we also have the playground itself, like the live coding environment here. So the more I write these and go back and rewrite them, the more I kind of feel like these live portions should be enough. But like on the was it ref? Yeah, there was an example where ouch, where I just took the all of the examples and put them in a single kind of file that you could see here. Maybe I should do that with computed as well. I will have to think about that, but that's not what I wanted to show you here. I think, yeah, this is the original idea that I had, and I wanted to go um, through that in the text here, but then it didn't convince me the way I was doing it. So I might use it in a different um, circumstance, like in a different setting. Maybe this could be like a challenge or something, where I ask you to create this tally, or I don't know. We'll see. So it's extremely hot right now, and my brain is not really braining that well. But I think to close the computed portion, this will be enough for now. So what I can do is oh, maybe I can show you this part. Yes. So you will notice that I updated this rules and files here um, on the ESLint config. So the idea is that there are some rules in ESLint that are automatically applied to the code that I am authoring for the book. But then there are some times where I need those not to apply, if that makes sense at all. So what I'm seeing here is, what you're seeing right now is that there's some space in between these two lines, and that's just because I wanted that to show both the code that we're using for this example, as well as the tooltip from the to/slash part, right? So that's the reason why this exists. The no multiple empty lines is off, but only for specific files. So that will be including next tick, as well as computed properties. And I'm not sure, I don't remember why I needed both entries. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. But if we go to next tick, yeah, you'll see that we have a few lines down below, as well as the computed properties. And this is quite a large lesson, by the way. So you can see these lines, if I didn't have that rule disabled for this file, then I would have the lines removed automatically, and we don't want that. So we have that there, and a few other updates to, or overrides rather, to the rules. In the case of the ref, right? So the multiple empty lines, but also the no ref as operand. I think I kind of mixed the idea where I wanted to do it by file, but then I have it by rule. Yeah, so if I removed this part from here, but then I also added these files here, then that still should work, right? If I go to ref, then I still save the file. Yeah, this is expected. I am not. Yeah, I guess this is because I wanted the here and then below for the year. Here for the year. No, this one, not the error, but the log. If I didn't use TS here, but and I didn't pass in. Yeah, I just wanted this to be highlighted, syntax highlighted, I guess. So that's why I did a TS in there. But that's expected here. So I hope not to have an issue at this point later on. But yeah, so if I let's see, if I didn't have those rules, let me show you just real quick. If I didn't have those rules applied here, then I would not only have that issue, but another one here, right? So all I'm doing here is trying to show you that this is how you do things. Like, you need to add value, otherwise the compiler will yell at you. But if I didn't have that rule and I save the file, then VS Code will magically update the code by itself, and that's not something I want. So I can do this and then force it to keep it the way it is, so I can still show you on the 2/ implementation here that well, the compiler is going to yell at you basically. So yeah, those are the changes you see there on the ESLint config, and those we actually modified that to kind of be by rule essentially, which I think it's a better way to see it. Be on style, same thing. I wanted to show you how you could write it alternatively and not have the VS Code update or automatically quote unquote fix the code. So now I can see by rule what file applies there. And finally this guy here. See, yeah, that makes sense. It's better this way, I think. I had a little bit of a mixed idea here, and we got it right this time. Okay. Next we have the invites that I showed you earlier. The config that changed a little bit because I fixed a couple things that were not working for me, and I can't remember what that was. But I'm sure that was kind of important to be there, so I'm gonna touch it again. We updated last time, I think, the dependencies, including pnpm itself, as well as Nuxt, and then that meant I don't need to do this anymore, which is good. Yeah, with the upgrade to newer Nuxt, we had to install this parcel watcher thing. So let's do this in a single commit, maybe like that. And what I use for my commits lately is this conventional commits extension. Let's do, it's not a feature, it's a chore, I suppose. With no scope. And let's call it upgrading, I don't know, Nuxt. No audio. Hey, thank you. Nuts. I can hear myself on the monitoring, but let's increase the gain a little bit, maybe. Let me know if you can hear me now, and thanks a lot for letting me know. Okay, I'll just keep talking and see if that was fixed. That was my first interaction on a live stream. Alright, let's go back to the commit. Upgrading next. And npm. I don't know. This works. Let's do this in a separate commit, maybe. And it would be a chore as well. Let's create a new scope, invites. Let's do more invites, codes created or something. And yeah, at this point, yeah, I updated the next tick. Updated the next tick chapter or lesson. Remind me later. Thank you. To to be more in line with what I had for ref and reactive and stuff. So like I mentioned, I added the 2/ part. I don't think I modified anything else down below, so that's good. All right. So yeah, let's just commit the whole thing because there's something else I wanted to show you, and we'll see if it will work. So let's do conventional commits and feature. Oh, I guess I did. I didn't have scopes for the chapters, which is fine then. Okay, let's just do things. Chapter next tick maybe. This is computed properties. This is dynamic. I don't need this change, so we can discard it. We removed the solution for dynamic classes, so fine. I'm not sure I want to do this that way, but it's okay. Let's do conventional commits. Yes. Feature. Chapter. Yeah, it's going to be a new scope. Chapter next tick. Introducing / at the beginning of the lesson. Oh wait, I called them by chapter. Nah, that's fine. I'll just want to move on. This is not very clean, but I am getting this a little bit impatient here. So let's do this. Feature. I think we'll do this. Just content. Because otherwise it will be, I don't know. Okay, so updating content for creating content for computed properties. Yeah, so everything is synced now. Sorry, like I said, heat is really tough on me right now. But anyway, so what I wanted to also show you, and I think, let me see if, yeah, let's do that in a new environment. What I wanted to show you was this here. So you probably are familiar, or hopefully, with almostnode. This is a project that someone took their coding agents thing and asked it to build a solution for doing things just like you do with all right, sorry, I'm back already. So this is an alternative to web containers, and the whole idea of those is that you can basically, what it says here, you can run Node in your browser, and this is something that I am very excited about because it will enable us to have the same kind of like the same experience as we do here for the playground, you know, where we have the terminal, but also a console that I added to the experience, and then the preview, as well as the different files that you load for the container to run and then see what happens here. So this is also a live environment. You're probably familiar with all of that because I've been talking about that already. But this is running on top of web containers from StackBlitz, if I'm not mistaken. So web containers is a technology that's enabling that, right? So yeah, from StackBlitz. And what I think happens here is that you could use it for personal projects, but then you need to chat with them for anything enterprise or self-hosted related, right? So there's something I might need to do if I wanted to use this and also charge for the usage of the playground that I am creating here. Learnox.com doesn't have that issue because this is an open, like a free site. This is the one I took. I enhanced, or I changed, I updated for my own purposes. But then since this is free, there's no issue because it's I guess it counts as a personal project, but it's not the same as mine because I am trying to charge for it eventually. So having said all of that, I found that someone wrote this Node.js in your browser, and then you can go to almostnode. Let's see if Macaulay almostnode.dev. So here is the actual online product, and you can see you can have your HTTP servers and you can run it, and it will load from your browser. It's not running Node in your computer, but rather in your browser. So that's the whole idea here. And then they added Express examples as well as Next examples, which is really cool. But then I thought, okay, so I can grab this and just use it for my website. Like here, I saw this Vite dev server, and you can install and this is Vite 5, as you can tell here. Now you can start preview, and then you have an interactive counter and everything works fine. But when I tried it, I didn't see a way for me to run Vue, for example. What you can see here is JSX is fine, React is fine, but then when I tried doing Vue stuff, it didn't quite work. Maybe that was an issue on my part on how not to use it, or I didn't know how to do it properly. But then I asked in OpenCode the AI to help me change a couple things. So let's go back a little bit here to the demos examples here, and you will see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9 examples there. And let's go back to this locally running one, and the examples have a few more. So I added this real vit as well as the view 3. That's the change essentially. So here it says 8, but it's actually going to install vit 7. Yeah, I guess the button is not quite right, but then this won't work. So this part is not quite done, but the one I'm interested in is this view 3 with real vit. So if I do this, it's supposed to grab the proper version and then install what we need for Vue. So now this works, but also if I were to say update this here, hello YouTube again, share whatever, and if I save Command S, then you can see the new stuff being added to that before. I mean, I'm all for monochromatic stuff, but this is hard to read if I'm being honest. But anyway, so here, this is the items that is being, the array that's being looped through. And what I wanted to do live in this session and see how much fumbling around I do is create a new desktop, move these away because I'm not sure what those did, and show you this here. So this is basically the session that I had today earlier, where I asked what was the latest state of this project and what needed to be done in order for me to essentially swap the whole web containers for one of these almostnode instances, essentially, right? So it went ahead and changed a few things and asked a few questions as well, wanted me to understand what was happening, and then up to the point of just committing the changes, I think. And the latest or the last step in all of that is to basically integrate it into Amoxtli Vue 2, right? So this is Amoxtli Vue. So this is why I committed those changes like in a very sloppy way. But anyway, so what I think we could do is do it now from, can you provide let's do that. A prompt that I will use from a session that is loaded in the Amoxtli Vue 2 project to swap web containers for this almost node and see what happens there. Meantime, in the meantime, I think we will open up a new window here and say projects, That's gonna be here. Sure, it wants to read the other repo, which is fine. I'm giving access to reading what the other one does, because this is how I asked it to build that part. I said, okay, look at the other repository, see what stuff is being used from the web components, or sorry, web containers. Yeah, what stuff is being used there and how I need to implement it in almostnode in order to make it work, right? So that was the idea. And this time it will try again, but now to tell the other agent, I suppose, how to do it. Okay, you're working. Yes, read only is fine. Okay, seems like if you prefer almostnode added directly. Yeah, catalog is fine. Now catalog I think will be fine. I'll go with the simple copy for now. But since I don't think it's gonna work at first try, then we might have to come back and tell it to track it automatically like it says here. So let's try this. And we'll all see at the same time. Or I guess you will be looking at it a couple seconds later. Alright. Okay, here goes nothing. And let's move this into another desktop actually. Okay. And let's allow it. So my understanding is now that the other project was built, then it will take basically the dist folder and paste or copy paste it into this one, then replace the whole infrastructure for web containers, and then move it into the almostnode implementation that we did for specifically to make Vue work, right? It will be interesting because I didn't ask this one to create a Nuxt implementation, right? So it's going to support Vue, but not Nuxt itself, or specifically. So we'll see how that goes. Let me turn off the I'm going to turn off the reduce motion, so when I go back and forth in between desktops, I'm not getting dizzy or making you go dizzy. There you go. And yeah, we'll have to wait for a little bit here. As you can tell, I'm on the plan mode, so that will help me to see before it starts moving stuff around, renaming files or whatever. I will be able to catch anything that's probably not a good idea, and then ask it to change whatever it needs to change in the plan. And yeah, let's see. So let's see if we can find anything web container related. So here is the Nox config that is loading the deps as part of the bundle, I guess. Here is where we tell it to install it from the catalog, all the deps. Yeah, this was part of my original idea. So yeah, there's a few places where web containers are like very heavily integrated, I guess. Like in here, right? So that will be interesting to see. This in particular, because this is the one that playground store. Yeah, we'll see. I haven't really gone through the most of the inner workings of the playground. All I did was add this console output panel here, I think, and maybe some other thing. Like I changed these, of course, but that's not a huge update or change that needed to be made. What I did also was change these to be draggable and then resizable but also draggable, so you can change those and this way, and you can rearrange them however you see fit. So that's something I did change, but as you can tell, it's not really related to web containers. It's more of a UI interaction part. Same for this. I think this was already there, but we'll see. So let's check the plan now. Okay, so there's a facade that exports the actual same kind of classes and stuff that web container does. So the idea would be not to change a whole lot of the code in the Amoxtli Vue repo, but rather, yeah, just provide the same, essentially the same API. Interesting. That wasn't my direction, my specific direction. I didn't tell it to do it that way. All 5 import sites confirmed. Yeah, this is the one we found, the guide. Has not direct container usage. Yeah, it's just like having that as a property of the store, right? Get working trace clean. Yeah. Remove that and change it for the almost node. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna rip out everything web container from the packages. And then update the imports. It should remain the same. Okay. All right. See how long it takes. Also, last time we saw how I installed the, what's it called, the dictation thingy application. I haven't really used it. I haven't seen the need yet, because the paragraphs that I write, like I mentioned before, are really meant to be small and succinct, I guess. Um, but we'll see. We'll see if I use it in the future. All right. It's updating. It's updating documentation at the same time. Okay, the first snag is that we can't use file. It'll probably ask me to just do it directly on the package.json file, which is fine. Yep, just as I thought. Both package.json is fine. Still gonna remove the web container part, I guess. It looks like on its to-dos is very, very low. Which means that we can probably see what's going on here. I think this was one of the more important files. Interesting. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Hmm. Hmm. Let's see what almost node depends on. We don't need this. Okay. Okay. It's now able to install the packages. This is type checking, but that must be the last step. So we can probably run this already. Seems like it's firing up just fine. I've seen this error before, but that was when we upgraded the dependencies. Oh. Oh, oh, oh. Is it gonna work? It looks like it's working. Interactive terminal mode, restart the server. I don't know what this is. Oh, because it needs me to hit start. Yeah, like in the example, it needs me to real regression. Well, I'm not exactly concerned about downloads right now, but we'll see. Anyways, as a first attempt, I think it's not too bad because I do have the different bits and pieces here. And it's taking its sweet time to load now. Do I have anything in here? No, it's just restarting the server over and over, I think. Okay, it's restarting the server, but then here I don't see. Yeah, okay. I'll keep working on this and I guess keep you posted. If you want to see where and how this ends, if I am actually able to swap out web containers for almostnode, then stay tuned, I guess. Subscribe or whatever. And I think I will leave it there for now. I mean, it kind of worked, right? Thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you later. Bye.